Are Gordon Ramsay's frozen foods actually worth it? If you told me a few years back that Gordon Ramsay would launch a frozen foods lineup, I'd say you were drunk. Gordon has openly said he hates any food that has been frozen, so it's pretty confusing to see his face on boxes of frozen meals. But if there's a fortune to be made, why not? Now, since it's actually Gordon Ramsay we're talking about here, these dishes have to be really good, right? Well, that's what we're about to find out. Today we're going to rank his frozen meals and see if they're actually worth it or if they're just trash. Number 10, mushroom risotto. If there's one dish that had us doing a double take, for all the wrong reasons, it's Gordon Ramsay's mushroom risotto. Now this is a risky move out of the gate. Risotto is hard enough to get right when it's fresh off the stove, let alone after a spin in the microwave. And unfortunately, this one proves just how tricky it is. Let's start with a look. Grayish, sludgy, and almost unappetizing to the eye. It's not the rustic, creamy risotto you would expect from Ramsay. The texture is a letdown, mushy in a way that doesn't feel intentional. The arborio rice should be toothsome, but here it's basically pudding. In the mushroom flavor, overbearing and oddly artificial, like someone poured mushroom concentrate over oatmeal. That's not an exaggeration. It was just a bad dish. Number 9, crab cakes. Let's be honest, frozen crab cakes are already walking a tightrope. You either nail that delicate balance of real crab flavor with a light, crispy crust, or you end up with a fishy patty that tastes like it came from a vending machine. Sadly, Gordon Ramsay's take leans toward the latter. The problem isn't just that the crab flavor is muted, it's that it's practically missing in action. These cakes don't give you those juicy chunks of lump crab meat. Instead, the filling is so finely processed, it almost feels like seafood flavoring stuffing. The texture is borderline spongy and the breading lacks crunch, even when you oven bake or air fry them. Number 8, fish and chips. You'd think fish and chips would be a hit for Gordon Ramsay. After all, he's made a career out of yelling about how this dish should be executed. But the frozen version? It's not exactly kitchen nightmares bad, but it's definitely not what you'd expect from the man who made fish and chips into an art form. Let's start with the fries. Bland, limp, and dry. Some of the worst we've tried in a frozen meal. They don't crisp up well, and even when they do, they're flavorless. Salt barely helps. The fish itself fares slightly better. The breading is decent if you air fry it, but if you use a microwave, it ends up soggy. The actual fish is flaky but unremarkable. It lacks seasoning, personality, and that wow factor that a Ramsay product should have. It's serviceable in a you're too tired to cook kind of way. But if you're expecting that pub-style flavor explosion, you won't find it here. Number 7, Wellington Bites. When you hear Gordon Ramsay and Wellington in the same sentence, you perk up a little. It's his dish, his signature. So when he slapped his name on a frozen version, even in bite-sized form, the hype was real. Unfortunately, so was the letdown. Now, are they the worst thing you'll find in the frozen aisle? Not even close. But do they live up to the legend of Ramsay's beef Wellington? Not even the same postal code. The pastry is decent, flaky if you make them just right, but the filling is where things get fuzzy. The meat isn't quite tender enough to justify the Wellington name, and the flavor leans a bit too bland. You get hints of mushroom duxilus, sure, but it's muted, and the beef is more chewy than luxurious. If you're expecting that buttery, melt-in-your-mouth center that made Ramsay's Wellingtons world famous, yeah, this isn't it. Number 6, 4 cheese macaroni. Mac and cheese is one of those dishes that people get weirdly protective over. Everyone has their ideal version. So when Gordon Ramsay puts out a 4 cheese version, expectations go through the roof. The good news? It's not that bad. The bad news? It's not all that exciting either. The cheese blend is supposed to be the star. Cheddar, mozzarella, parmesan, and Monterey Jack. But the flavor just doesn't pop the way you'd hope. Instead of a bold, creamy explosion, it comes off more like a safe, middle-of-the-road mac. It's better than the standard blue box stuff, sure, but it's nowhere near gourmet. Think elevated cafeteria food. The texture is fine, the noodles hold up well, but it doesn't leave you wanting more. Number 5, slow roasted beef with garlic mashed potatoes. This one came as a bit of a surprise. After a few of the more disappointing options, we weren't expecting much, but Gordon's slow roasted beef and garlic mashed potatoes ended up holding their own. It's not perfect, but it feels like it's trying harder than some of the others. First up, the beef is tender enough, and while it's definitely not melt in your mouth, it doesn't have that weird rubbery texture some frozen meats suffer from. The gravy is rich, maybe a little too salty for some, but it carries a decent punch of flavor. The mashed potatoes, creamy, garlicky, and smooth. Actually one of the best parts of the dish. Would Gordon himself eat this? Probably not, but for a frozen food aisle find, it holds up surprisingly well. Number 4, shepherd's pie. Now this is where things start getting interesting. Shepherd's pie might not seem glamorous, but when it's done right, it hits all the right notes. Meaty, comforting, and just the right amount of rustic. Ramsay's version doesn't knock it out of the park, but it's definitely swinging in the right direction. The top layer of mashed potatoes is smooth and golden, not dried out or rubbery like some frozen versions. The meat filling has a deep, slightly herby flavor that feels thoughtfully seasoned, not just dumped together. There's a good balance between the beef, the vegetables, and the gravy. It's not too greasy, and it doesn't taste like mystery meat. Almost. It's not perfect. Some might want more texture or depth, but for a quick comfort food fix, this one earns its spot in the top half of the list. Number 3, lemon caper chicken. The lemon caper chicken isn't just good for a frozen meal, it's genuinely tasty. Like you'd serve this to a guest and not feel weird about its taste. The chicken is moist, which is practically a miracle considering how many frozen meals leave you with dry, shredded sadness. But the real star is the sauce, zesty lemon with that tangy, salty hit from the capers. It's bold, it's bright, and it wakes the whole dish up in a way most frozen meals simply don't. There's a balance here that feels intentional, like someone actually taste tested it more than once. Would we stock up on it? Absolutely, especially on those nights when you want something fast that still feels a little elevated. If all of Ramsay's meals were like this, the frozen food aisle would be a very different place. Number 2, lasagna with bolognese meat sauce. Lasagna's sacred territory. Especially for people who grew up with a family recipe passed down like treasure. And while Gordon Ramsay's version doesn't outdo Grandma's Sunday classic, it definitely earns some real respect. First, it's layered properly. None of that one sheet of pasta nonsense. The meat sauce is hearty and flavorful, and you can actually see the meat, which already puts it ahead of a lot of store brand competition. There's a decent acidity from the tomato, a good hit of garlic, and a bit of sweetness that rounds it out. The bechamel is silky and adds some much needed creaminess, balancing out the tang from the sauce. But the standout is the cheese. Gooey mozzarella on top, plus what tastes like a sprinkle of real Parmesan. It's melty, stretchy, and doesn't taste like plastic. If you're looking for an easy, satisfying dinner that doesn't feel like a compromise, this one should definitely be in your cart. Number 1, chicken pot pie. You know those meals where you take one bite and immediately think, wait, this one might actually be legit. That's the chicken pot pie. It's not flawless, but there's something undeniably cozy and well executed about it that makes it stand out from the rest. The crust, surprisingly, is one of the best elements. For something frozen, it comes out golden and flaky, especially if you use the oven. No soggy, sad pastry here. It has a nice buttery flavor that wraps the whole dish together. Inside, the filling is generous, the chicken is tender, and there are real chunks, not tiny shredded pieces trying to hide. The veggies are well balanced, and the sauce? Creamy, savory, and just rich enough without feeling like you're eating pure roe. This actually looks like something Gordon might serve at one of his more casual restaurants. So, are you Team Ramsay or Team TV dinner? If you enjoyed the video, hit that subscribe button. Who knows, you might get a free cookie.